Well, my unplanned vacation / business trip continued today. I did about, but 387 miles, roughly 600 kilometers, and spent 6 hours behind the wheel. And I started in Needles, California, and I remember it was still summer. You could walk around in shorts and a t-shirt. It was about 72, 75 F or plus 20 Celsius. And I started driving. There was no scales, to my surprise, on the California side, but then I think it was like mile marker 8 on the Arizona side. They were stopping everybody and basically checking for 3 documents: IFTA, fuel tax, registration, then registration or cab card, and insurance. Well, I managed to come up with all 3, winning combo, and the female officer looked suspicious about my Nova Scotia IFTA. She looked at it from one angle, from the other, left the window, went inside, came back. So was looking at it for like 5 minutes. Couldn't find anything wrong with it. Give it back to me. Have a good day. All right. Then my next stop was in Kingman, Arizona, where I got some fuel, pretty good price. I think it was like $2.85 per gallon, and I had breakfast at Denny's at the Flying J, and they had the free Wi-Fi, so I uploaded the video from the day before, but it took forever. All of a sudden the upload stopped at like 75%, and there was nothing I could do. So I tried to use my phone. It was no better, so I went back to the Denny's Wi-Fi, and somehow eventually it finished uploading. But for those who are just tuning in and didn't see day 8 from my California trip, yes, I'm driving all across the US from Los Angeles, California, 2,500 miles to Bennettsville, South Carolina, to exchange my Orange Beast for a 55-ton charcoal gray Beast, which will be pretty much the same Kaufman trailer, except it'll have some options and free options for me, and it'll be brand new. And while I was sitting there at the restaurant, it occurred to me, like, I wanted to make 2 comments, so I sent them to the engineer. I asked if it would be possible to do a better weatherproofing on the connectors and switches on the trailer, because if you guys saw my winter time videos, I had lots of trouble with those push-pull type of switch. You know, they were like a stick like this and a round kind of like button in the back. They were seizing in cold weather and stopped working, and then the switch and there's like 3, and they're similar ones, and I have 3 of those. One controls the lift axle on the trailer, one controls the suspension on the left side of the bumper, and one, the most important one, controls the pin that connects the gooseneck to the deck of the trailer. And they were all failing at one point, and the engineer responded saying that they found a better version of those switches, something that was rated for low temperatures, like kind of like minus 40 F, minus 40 Celsius. So I'm getting those, so which is great. And also I asked them about those D-rings again, because on my trailer the D-rings are in the middle of the side of the trailer, which makes it inconvenient to use for chaining, because then the chain rubs on the top of the deck, and it's a pretty sharp piece of metal in there. Whereas some trailers I've seen, they have the D-rings positioned closer to the top of the side, so that when it's flipped up, the chain goes through and it does not touch the deck. And on my trailer you cannot do that, because the outriggers, those metal things, they are too long, and they don't allow the D-rings to be at the top. But it occurred to me that I only use outriggers, for super wide loads, maybe once every 3 weeks. So because they are removable, I thought maybe we should just put them in the storage on the trailer and then they can move those D-rings to the top. And so I asked the engineer about this and got his response on the same email, where he was saying about the winterizing of switches. Yeah, they're going to install Sealco push-pull valves that are rated for -40F. Okay, and this comment about D-rings, the engineers wrote that your trailer is already through the first weld station and D-rings are already installed. We will be happy to do this for you, but it will delay the completion by at least 2 days, as we will start over with a new build. And of course I said, no, I cannot do that. I'm short of time. I'm already wasting all this time not making any money, right? So I said, no, I cannot wait. So this will be something that I will do on my next trailer. Just this one, the one I'm getting, will be pretty much a perfect trailer, because it'll have the fenders, it'll have the flip-up ramps, it'll have plenty of D-rings, and it'll have the bucket pocket in the back there, so the floor will be low in the end in front of the wheels. So, and nice dark color. So the only thing is the D-rings. Oh, and the gooseneck will be shorter, so the trailer will be stronger, will be easier to maneuver. And so this was a pretty uneventful drive until, and we agreed that I should be there Tuesday morning. Today is Thursday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because we were shooting for Wednesday next week. But now the engineer says it'll take him about 1 day to transfer the stuff from my trailer, because they're transferring the Honda, so they'll have to hook up all the connectors, right, the hydraulics, and they're transferring the wheels and tires. So we were shooting for Wednesday, March 25th, and he says that it'll be helpful to them if I was there on the morning of Tuesday, which is March 24th. And I figured, so I started driving at like 57 miles an hour, you know, like trying to save some fuel. Then after Kingman, Arizona, when I got this email from the engineer, I started driving 60. So flying by, everybody's passing me, but you know, for me that's fast. So 60 miles an hour, it's pretty cool. And so the trip was pretty uneventful until, and then I stopped in Flagstaff, where you saw I was showing I-40 there. And then I crossed the border into New Mexico, and there's a scale. And there's no sign, nothing that says open or close, but I see half of the people are going in, half of the people are flying by. Well, I decided to join the first half because, you know, the last thing I want to do is jump the scale, as they say. So I go in, and there's no scale like this is, but there's like a small booth, kind of like a customs, what I'm used to at the customs at the border. There's like a small booth, and the lady I opened the window. I thought she would be asking me for my, you know, the same thing like IFTA registration. She says, you have to buy a permit. I say, a permit? I am empty. What kind of permit? Oh, you have to park, go inside. All right, I thought it was because, you know, it's a long trailer. I'm like, you know, AGN, you know, long wheelbase, but I'm empty and my last axle is up. Anyway, I go in, and the stern-looking DOT official with a gun on his belt says, you need a permit. I said, what kind of permit? Is it because I have an RGN trailer? He says, no, everybody needs a permit. I said, is it like an IFTA, like a road use, or what is it? He says, no, it's a separate New Mexico permit. And I say, when was it introduced? He says, 1935. Well, this is the first time I hear about this. And it turns out big companies prepay for this because they can get an annual permit which covers all of their trucks, you know. Because that's why Landstar, I said I used to work for Landstar, and I went through New Mexico, I'm pretty sure, a few times. and never had to stop. And he says that's why, because Landstar pays for that from their end, but this small company I work for, see, they don't pay for this, so it's left to the driver. And the guy asked me for my weight, how far I'm going, so I told him I'm 45,000 pounds going across New Mexico on I-40, and he did some extensive, difficult calculations. They came up with a number $44.51. And I said, do you take Visa? And he said yes, but that would be $295 extra service fee for using your Visa. I said, is there a method that, like a preferred method, that you don't charge for, like cash? If I pay cash, you still charge some service fee? He says no. I said, well, I don't have cash, I'll pay with Visa. So they charge $295 to take your money, and then they charge you a fee to take your money. I mean, 44? No, wait a second. I think it was like 42. So yeah, $44.51 is the total fee. That already includes the service charge, I think. Where was that? Yeah, he gave me this one. And he gave me, this looks like a permit, like oversized permit. This one, no, $44.51 is the charge, and then the fee on top of that is $2.95 US. So I paid $47.46 because I had a Visa. So, oh boy, so this is kind of like reminds me of Russia sometimes, you know. Don't get me started. Anyway, so day 2 is complete. I'm closer to the plant, and I'm gonna see my new trailer on Tuesday. Stay tuned.